And what we want you to do is, by the end of this webinar, we want you to understand what employers are really looking for in a resume. And we also want to make your first 30 seconds count, because in actual fact, an employer will look at a resume and they make a decision within the first 30 seconds. So we want yours to make an impact. We also want you to really confidently write a resume with impact, and support your resume with a strong cover letter. So let's get into it. So what employers are looking for when they open up the first page of your resume, they're wanting to see, do you have the appropriate qualifications and skills? And so this is where it's really important that you actually document all the appropriate qualifications and your education on the front page, and put all your skills and attributes, because this is what they're going to look for first. They'll start reading into your resume once they've gone through that first page and said, yeah, okay, we'll move further on. They also want to know, are you the right fit? Are you the type of person who's going to represent their company appropriately? And you think, gee, how can they pick that up? But it's amazing, they can pick that up through the way that you're writing your resume, the way that you've structured your resume, and then following on from your experience. They also want to know, what have your achievements been? So it's all very well going to work and then putting on your resume all the responsibilities that you've completed, and that virtually coming straight off your job description. You know what? Let's just put an overall summary of what you can do. But then what we want to do is really focus on your achievements. Employers want to know, how well have you done your job, not that you can do it. And then the last bit, they want to see about your interests and hobbies and what that says about you. It's a really nice thing for them to see what type of person you are, what kind of things you do outside of work, and what your interests are. If anybody has questions throughout this, please type a note and we can talk to you about it. So let's look at making this 30 seconds. You've got 30 seconds to impress, and let's make it count. You know what? They do sum you up, and if your resume doesn't look right, you will just be put in the bin. So first of all, the first thing that people look at is the resume clear and consistently formatted? So if we go through and see indents in strange places, and one style of dot points and then another style of dot points, and then we go from all uppercase to lowercase and things like that, you will find that they will just turf you, because what's that showing to them is that you don't have that attention to detail. There's no logic in you with the work that you do. That things are looking messy. The next one is about doing spell checks and making sure there's no grammatical errors. Again, it's amazing the amount of employers who can just pick up a document and they will find a spelling mistake before anything else. So if you've got spelling mistakes in there, bang, you're out. Gone. The next part is your first page needs to have all your career details, your objective, your education, your skills, and your attributes. We actually start the second page with your career history. This is our summary page. Who are you? What are you wanting to achieve? What do you bring to the table? What are your skills and attributes? What are your qualifications? These are the things we're wanting to see about who you are. And then the second pages and ongoing go into the achievements. So let's just look at...
Di, can I interrupt? Sorry.
Yeah.
Hi everybody, Sarah here. I'm just joining Di for today's webinar. Lovely to have you along. Di, I saw a fabulous resume the other day, and it was coloured and it was amazing looking, and there was a huge photograph on it.
Was he or she good looking? Absolute no. Absolute no. And look, it's the reason for that is one, the privacy situation. don't need to go selling yourself by a picture. There, in some countries, it is the thing that you do send a picture, but over here in Australia, we don't send pictures. The other thing is don't have them, don't have borders around them, don't have colours in them.
This one was like all blue with all
No.
different coloured
Because-
text. And
Yeah, no. I don't know why that's not going to work.
it looked like a brochure.
Well, it's a great marketing tool. However, you'll find that a lot of the times when you're applying for jobs, you apply online,
Mm-hmm.
and it actually goes to a lot of organisations have scanners, and they scan and they can reject things out pretty quickly
Mhm.
as well. So it can skew information. So
Yep.
the more underlining and all of those kind of things, it skews information, so you can actually be spat out of the system very, very quickly. The key is to have it as simple and as plain as possible. And in fact, I don't even really like doing underlining at all. I think because everything goes through these new computer systems now, it's a bit tricky.
And I think what you said before about having it correct is so important. Like,
Yeah.
when I'm going through recruitment or recruiting for here, if somebody says, because everybody says attention to detail, yeah? Like
Yeah.
everyone says I'm great at
Yeah.
attention to detail. And then you look down on the first page, there's grammatical errors or spelling errors, and immediately you think, well, you say that you're good at attention to detail, but
Yep.
clearly
The two don't correlate. And particularly if there was if you have to have a strong attention to detail, or you're applying for an admin job or a auditing job or a project management job or anything where you have to have a strong level of attention to detail, and your resume looks like a dog's breakfast,
Yeah.
and there are spelling mistakes,
Yeah.
bang, gone.
Just before we go on, Gary, yes, we will be providing you copies of the slide and the video once we finish. Thank you for asking.
All right, now I've put a sample up here, and this is just of the page one. Now, at the top here, put your name, and then underneath, just put your email and phone number. No longer do we need to have your address, your age, whether you're male, female, whatever. Just keep it really, really simple. And the reason why we do that is that it's not up to an organisation to decide whether you live too far away from that organisation. So if you put your address up, they go, oh, gee, they may not want to travel so far, or travel may be an issue, but that's actually none of their business. You need to decide how far you're prepared to go. So we take any of things out that can cause any kind of sort of biases against you. The next thing is a bit of a career overview. And this really tells the employer really what you're looking for, you've done in the past. So it's a little bit of an overview, just saying, look, I'm writing to, I'm applying for this role in admin assistance, and it's going to, support my previous experience, and I've great attention to detail. So just do a little overview, or I'm looking forward to getting into a larger organisation where I've got further growth. So make sure that your resumes are tailor-made to every organisation, and this career objective or overview is updated every time you send your resume, because we want to make it relevant to that company. So you might be wanting to go to that company because of the values of that organisation, so therefore you would encompass that into that bit. Mm-hmm. The next one is the qualifications in education. Mm-hmm. Now it gets to a point at a certain age, I suppose, where we don't need to put that, what year you finished high school. It's really more so for people who have just left school and who really haven't had, up to 5 years experience at work. So you can put your high school qualifications there. Otherwise, once you're grown up, we don't really need to have that. We just need to have relevant information that's applicable to business. So any kind of qualifications, it's a good idea you need to put the actual, whether it's a certificate 3 or certificate 4, whatever that's in. Usually it's a good idea to put where you received that qualification and what year you did.
Definitely what year you did, especially in like that education, because it becomes irrelevant so quickly. So.
That's right.
Not irrelevant, but you have to update it.
It gets updated, yeah. So that's really important that you put that in there.
And we don't put all the other bits that's slower in it. So you don't put short course in public speaking or short course in presentations. Do you clutter that bit up with everything you've done? Or?
I wouldn't put all of them in. Only the ones that are really relevant for that job.
Okay.
Because a lot of people, you know, like you, my personal preference is that you have attended a number of short courses in communication.
I think it's good to show that you at least are happy to participate in professional development.
Yeah. You don't need a lot in there, but if it's an admin job, then you need to put in there that, you know, if you've got certification of Microsoft project or project management or any of those kind of things, they might ask for a certain level of Office or Microsoft experience. So then you would need to put whether you're junior, intermediate or senior level on that. But we don't need to have absolutely every single little course that you've been on, but do put some extras in there if it applies. Now, your key skills and attributes. Now, it's always, you'll see in here that some of them I've written out a little bit more. So instead of just going time management, attention to detail, communications or good communicator, it's really good to just almost write a really, like a small, very tiny sentence. Just, you know, excellent time management, or, you know, put some verbs in there, make it a little richer. But also at this point, go back to the position description or the ad and look at it and see what kind of attributes they are looking for. They will always say mandatory attributes or preferred attributes or skills or whatever. So make sure that you encompass those, because if it goes through the computer scannings, it's those keywords that it's going to pick up. Make sure you put it in there, and just, you know, with some of them, add a little bit extra to it so it looks a little like you've thought about it. Oh, that's where I've put the other courses underneath this. Sarah?
Yeah, that's what I said. Do you want to put them all down there? Or
oh yeah, look, it's Monday, and it's really tiny. Yeah, so you can put your main things up there, but then your other ones down there. Sorry about that, everybody. And any kind of technology experience that you have. So just sort of separate it out a little bit so then people understand what it is that you've done. Now, the key to this is don't put anything too creative in there. That doesn't normally exist, because whatever you put in writing, you know, you're made accountable for that. So don't be overly creative in your resume, because you will get caught out.
Don't tell fibs, you're saying, no?
Probably. That's the one.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody have any questions around that front page? You will also see there that there's no underlining. Make sure that all your headers are of the same font. Usually you will use a 12, maybe a 14 for your name. Then you'll go down to a 10 for the main, for your emails and phone numbers. Career overview, your education, skills and attributes, normally at 12. And then the key, then your main information is done at a 10. So keep it consistent.
Gary's asking when a qualification becomes too old, which is a good question. So in the vet sector, I mean, it's never that it's too old, but for example, if you've done the 07 version of the Diploma of Project Management, there's a 1.5, so there's a 2015 version as well. So it's definitely still relevant. It's just not the most current or up to date. So you would definitely want to still put your bachelor's or a master's or whatever experience you've had in that. But if you do then update the project management, you would want to put the 1.5 on there just to make sure it's as up to date as possible. Yeah.
They're never too old, because you've at least got the qualification. Yeah. And you just might need to upgrade it.
And like the TAE, for example, the training and assessment.
Yeah, that needs to be upgraded.
That has to be updated because like there wasn't any language and literacy in there. So anybody from an RTO would be looking at the date of that qualification and would certainly if you were the right candidate for the job, would certainly be pushing you into updating that pretty quickly.
That's right. That's right. So that's your front page. Now, the next page.
Oh, you've skipped a page.
I've skipped a page now. I'm getting very excited here.
Here we go.
There we go. Now, this is actually my daughter's one.
Okay.
So I had to take a few things out, but anyway. So let's put professional experience up the top, or employment history is another one that you can put up there. Then you can see how simply it has been set out. It states in bold, again, 12 font, who the employer was and their location for that one. Then over on the other side was the date, when you started and to present. Then underneath there, there's a little bit of an overview of the organisation. What does that organisation do?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the title, and underneath there you then put the responsibilities. What have been these responsibilities? What are the things I need to do? And that's not all the responsibilities, but just those key responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Then underneath, when the focus area is that we want to look at achievements. We really want to focus on how well has this person done this job. So that's the basic format of setting that out. You just put it in dot points and make sure that when you are writing about your current job, you say that you are doing it, you are managing, you are supervising, you are coordinating, whatever it is, put that in the present tense.
Okay. And first person, second person, third person?
First person.
Okay.
And then I've just gone to straight hobbies and interests because I haven't put a second organisation in there. But when you go into the next job, which is the next one back, you put that underneath your key achievements in the same fashion as the first one, but then you put managed, supervised. So it goes into past tense because it's what you have done.
Not currently doing.
Yeah.
How many jobs do you put in there? Do you go back to when you left high school and got a job at McDonald's?
Well, it all depends on how old you are, Sarah.
If you can remember that far back.
Look, you know, I am of the mature variety, so I don't go, I put in sort of the last, all the ones that are really sort of relevant.
Okay.
Probably sort of the last 15, 20 years, I suppose. But then back from there, I will just then cite underneath ABC company as whatever the role was, from this date to this date, and just cite those at the bottom. So it's probably, look, it all depends on the role that you're applying for and where your relevance is.
Mm-hmm.
So if some of the other previous jobs that you've had have had no great relevance to the role that you're going to be doing now, maybe we don't need to go into so much detail.
Mm-hmm. Because you don't want to have any gaps in your career,
no.
But you also don't want to have a 25-page resume.
No, maximum for someone who's probably a little bit more mature, you know, 4 or 5 pages.
Is there no hard and fast rule? You know, some people like can only be 2 pages.
No, because if you only put 2 pages, you're not putting enough information.
Okay.
They need to know about you. So look, we don't want to bore them, and as you can see here, we've sort of put dot points. We haven't written great big long stories,
mm-hmm.
but having an idea of who the company is and what they did
mm-hmm.
Is really important. So, okay, so in this case, she's come from a transport industry.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that was another industrial area. And so it gets a bit of a feel of who that person is and what kind of cultures are interested in.
Yep.
And we can see the key things which should align with the job ad. And then, but the absolute key is putting your achievements.
Sure.
Absolutely.
And you don't put every single, I mean, I know ordering stationery might have been a really important part of the role, but unless it's particularly relevant, you don't need to list every single thing you did in that job.
No.
Okay.
No.
It could go on and on and
on. Don't go to your job description and cut and paste. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we've got a question here.
Well, it's a comment. So Gary speaks. A number of organisations now specify a maximum of pages. Sorry, often 3 to 4. So yeah, I guess that's what you.
Yeah,
were
so
just saying, Di.
sort of condense it down and where the relevant and really focus, say, then on your last 3 jobs, or go back 10 years. It all depends on how many you've moved. But what an organisation will do is when they see that resume and they will see your career history, they'll look at it and go, okay, so how long are they staying? That's the next thing they scan for, is how long are they staying in an organisation now? And, wonder why they're moving. But if they can see a succession of you moving up, enhancing your career, they look at it and go, okay, this person's a bit of a go-getter here.
Sure.
This person, if we want this person, we're going to have to stimulate this person to stay here. The average time now is between 18 months and 3 years that someone will stay in a particular role. It's really up to organisations now to make sure they keep their people longer than that.
Sure.
But if you do have career gaps, and you stop and have family, which is another part of your career, then you just need to put in there that from this date to this date, home duties, or you travelled overseas, or some people take 2 or 3 years out and just decide to do temping work. Yeah, so put that in there so then they can see that that's what you've done.
Well, we had 2 great questions here. The first was about what about times in a career as a stay-at-home parent? So like you've just said, definitely mention that on, highlight that.
Absolutely. And the thing is, when you're a stay-at-home parent, you're actually learning some great skills. You're learning negotiation. You're improving your time management, your organisational skills, your communication skills. So all those transferable skills you're actually enhancing while you're away, so away from the actual corporate workplace.
So there's another question here around what is the best way to describe a gap due to being made redundant but still seeking employment some months later?
Do you know what? When it comes to redundancy, be open and transparent. So in your career gap, so you'll say that you worked from this organisation from this time to this time, and your position was made redundant, and then you could maybe even say in your cover letter that you then took 3 months off, or whatever. But so many organisations, there's so much change going on now that a lot of organisations are doing redundancy. It's not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. What is negative is not admitting it or saying that this is what's happened.
I had a friend who was looking for a job in teaching, and she'd spent a lot of time away teaching in really remote communities, and it was a really valid experience, but she hadn't listed the gap in her, and she just couldn't get a job anywhere. And I was so disappointed because you should have just said, that's such a great experience. You should have said what you were doing.
Yeah.
It just looked like she was kind of really flighty and traveling and not really sticking at something, which wasn't true at all. So if she had have actually said what she was doing, I think she would have been a terrific asset to any company.
Oh, gosh, and with that extra experience, I took 3 months off at one stage, and I put that in my cover letter. Took 3 months off just to chill out and, smell the daisies,
basically.
Eat, pray, love. And did that, and people go, wow, that's really cool that you've done that.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need to get to a point in your life where you just need a bit of a break, and it's okay to say that. But the more transparent you are in it, the better. An employer will look at you and go, gee, at least they've been honest, and that honesty is something that people want.
Especially at this point when they're only reading 20, 30, 50 resumes.
Yeah.
If it's explained, at least.
Yeah.
They're not going to just chuck it in the bin.
That's right. And look, I don't even think they'll read that many. I think they might even read 10.
Yeah.
Because part of the process is that employers will do almost like a tick and flick. So they'll have a certain criteria. So they'll have a look at that first page and go, oh, formatting's rubbish. So they'll push you aside. Oh, found a spelling mistake.
Yep.
Pushed aside.
Yep. No relevant
education.
or...
Yeah, push you aside. And So you can flick them away. And then the other thing is that they will also put in the job ad is that they want you to put a cover letter.
Yep.
Now, if you just go and type one into that space, that's not, I mean, it does cover as a cover letter, but they actually want you to actually write a proper cover letter.
Okay.
So
that's another test.
That's another little test. And so if you don't put a cover letter, gone.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time you've done that type of vetting,
Yep.
you probably may be getting down to 10. So then let's make that really readable and exciting and something to want to see that person. The other thing is here too. So I've only put in one page here with one job, but as you can see, you would then follow on with that. At the end of all your employment, you'll put down there your hobbies and interests. That's a really good idea because it gives them a bit of an idea of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't put pole dancing down, probably not a good idea. Or anything a little bit out there. And the reference area, always just never, ever, ever supply a reference on your resume. And the reason why we don't do that anymore is some employers get a little bit cheeky and they will ring a referee, even before they have interviewed you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you haven't even been for an interview, and they might ring someone, find out about you, and then they'll make a decision from there.
Mm-hmm.
So always put referees available upon request. And then when you get asked for a reference, you need to then go and ring your referee and let them know that ABC, Mary from ABC Company, is going to be ringing them about the job. So always ask the permission and then let them know that it's going to happen. Because there's nothing worse than when you're doing a reference check and the person goes, who?
Yeah.
When? Oh, I didn't know they
awkward.
were trying for another job. But make sure that your referees are well informed.
There's a very interesting comment from Gary who says, find it ridiculous that employers or job agencies would disregard resumes or covering letters, as some of them are written by professional agencies.
Yeah. Well, I always say, write your own resume because it's written in your language and
But it's such a big thing now having people write resumes. I mean, we offer that service here at Cal as well. I mean, how do you compete? Like Gary says, how do you compete with professional people who do this for a living? I mean, would you be better off going and having it done professionally, or is it good practice to do it?
No, I don't think so. I actually think it's better to write your own.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that at Cal. But it is actually better to write because you actually know what's in it. One of the other things that can happen is when other organisations write your resume, people go, wow, look at my great resume. But they never read it and see exactly what's in there.
Uh-huh.
So they can often use words that aren't the types of words that you would use.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's not quite so. It might get through to the gatekeeper straight away,
mm-hmm.
but I think if you follow it and keep it simple
mm-hmm.
and clear, and focus on your achievements, then that's what they're looking for.
And I think the point still stands. If the job ad specifically says must have a cover letter,
then you must
have a cover letter. And if you're going for a job specifically that around administration or that does need attention to detail, I mean, you just can't afford to have errors on it.
No.
So even if you are writing yourself, you have to have it proofed by somebody else if you're not sure.
That's right. And this style of resume, this is the style that they do at CEDA, which is the career development area. And so it's the way that, that's the industry way of writing a resume.
Mm-hmm.
So
we've got a comment here around targeting a job outside of the defence world. Translate your skills, experiences and accomplishments into the selection criteria for civilian employers, and being told you don't have enough experience.
I'll get out of here. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit tricky, and I suppose it all depends on what kind of role that
Yep.
you're applying for. And Cameron, if you want to talk to me about it, I'm actually happy to take
Yeah, I
a
was
call
going to
from
say,
you,
or
because I think that might be something that we need to actually have a look at and make sure that it is kind of relevant and that we are using the right words to link
and
to that
certainly not
position.
selling oneself short
Yeah,
in terms of experience, even though it has only been in the defence world. You know, I mean, there's still a
yeah,
lot in there. It's
yeah.
maybe it's not being promoted well
Yeah,
enough.
and yeah, it's about linking the things that you have done in the Defence Force to into that organisation that you're going to, perhaps even sort of using the lingo and things like that. But as I say, and I'm happy to talk to you about that.
Oh, Gary's just mentioned that he can relate. He was in the Defence Force several years ago and was advised to not put defence experience in his resume or cover letter.
That's just ridiculous.
I would have thought that.
I would employ anybody from the Defence Force because you have attention to detail, you
Mm,
have loyalty to an organisation, you have great skills, great attributes. Oh, we're talking 15 years ago. Okay, so that was a while ago. So look, I think it's look. Let's, as I say, Cameron, if you want to talk to me about it, I can help you for that.
Often people make the mistake of talking too much about their previous experience, going into too much detail and using technical terms, which are extraneous to the role they are going for. I see this a lot on the interview panels that Deborah sits on.
Yeah. Again, it's about keeping it
Overkill?
simple. Absolute overkill. You don't have to write pages and pages and pages of things, and even in interviews, you don't have to go on and on and on. Keep it simple, clear, and to the point. Because you also don't want to have someone who's going to come into your organisation who gives you verbal overkill on everything. We run businesses. We need to get moving and have lots of action in our organisations. So we don't want someone who's going to go round and round and round and round and round in circles. And if you have to spend hours proving a point that you're okay, I would question, are you okay?
Oh, so Deborah goes on to say, rather than linking the experience and transferable skills. So I guess it's like, oversell, like, look how amazing I am, but it's not relevant at all to the position.
That's right.
And it probably is amazing experience, and you have done amazing things, but it's still not relevant to this particular role.
No. And I'm talking about transferring skills. I actually worked with a young girl who had left school quite young. She had become pregnant very quickly and then multiplied by 5 in a very, very short period of time, and had never actually had a job. But her husband had a trade business, and she did his books and made his lunch and organised his life. And she also was very active in her local community with the children around the football club and organising footy, club days and the kids, and she did all the washing of the uniforms and all of those kind of things. And she came to me and she said that she wanted to get a job. She said, I've never worked before. I said, not a problem. I said, you've been working all your life. You just haven't been in a paid job. And so we actually used her experience at the football club and talked about the skills that she used for that, her organisational skills, time management skills, all of those kind of things. Her attention to detail about doing her husband's books and running, being at the back end of her husband's business. And she went out, and on the 3rd application, she got a job.
Yeah, awesome.
So it's about just connecting it up to the applicable role. So the last thing that we need here is around the cover letter. Again, create a separate letter instead of just doing the typing in on the little box on the computer. Put your name, put your phone number, put your email. Now, if they have given you the name on the job ad, apply to George Clooney, then you write George Clooney, ABC Company, or whatever information that you have. then you'd write Dear George. Otherwise, you could just put in there to whom it may concern at the top there. The actual position. The next one. Underneath that, say that you're writing to apply for the ABC company, which was advertised where? So where did you find the ad? Was it on Seek? Was it on their website? Was it in the newspaper, LinkedIn, whatever? And then you are writing, say, in this one it says, as per my, as my resume refers, I've got the appropriate skills or attributes for this role. And then you just do a really short synopsis of that career or that experience for that role. And picking out some of those key words that they have got in the ad, put it into there, no longer than a page. And yours sincerely, your name at the bottom. So just link that in. So again, with writing resumes and writing cover letters, it's not just a one size fits all. You need to look at each one, each position that you're applying for, pull out the relevant attributes and skills and qualifications that they're needing, put that into, make sure that's fitting within your resume somewhere so you can apply back to that. And then also in your cover letter, making sure that that all links. And just don't go in and do cutting and pasting of the job role.
Certainly not forgetting to do that, sending it off to the wrong.
I can remember doing some recruiting in the healthcare industry, and someone had sent me a resume, and their cover letter was for the part-time Santa position. I think they'd forgotten. went into the bin.
And the cover letter is a good opportunity to kind of be yourself as well.
Well, it is really. You can show your personality in that cover letter, and also be really positive in the ending. I'm looking forward to speaking with you more about this position, or whatever it is.
With the speaking about, and I know this is probably another topic altogether, but once you've sent it in, would you call?
Don't harass them.
That's what I think.
No. Now, a lot of ethical organisations, with this, if you do the online and they've got the systems in place where they are flicking things, you'll get an automatic response saying, at this point you have not been successful. Okay, so if some resumes might go through the system, and if they've got lots of pretty pictures and things like that, it will be spat out, so it will tell you that you're not successful straight away. Then they should call you. Some organisations wait until the end date. So if they've got a close-off date on it, you will find that they may not even do any vetting of resumes until that close-off date.
Yeah.
So if it's a month away, then don't expect to get a call for a month.
Because they wouldn't want to have rounds and rounds and rounds. They'd want to get everybody and then do it, over 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. Some organisations may have a cut-off date, but as resumes come through, they will vet them and they will go through them at that point, and they will start the interviews or the phone interviews. I wouldn't be terrorising them. Yes, look, on some aspects it can show that you're keen, but it can also show that you're desperate.
Okay.
And we don't want to do that. It's a bit like the dating process, You don't ring. You
wait for the call. Resume writing time.
You wait for the call. Wait by the phone. They will contact you, or they will.
So Karen has just said, with those automated rejections, is due to not putting in keywords that they're looking for.
Often.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or too much glitz and glamour, or
see, the thing is, because with the computer system that it spits it out, any glitz and glamour will skew it. So you just can't do that right from the very start. Keep it really plain and simple, like the one that I've showed you. However, they are looking for those key attributes and those key words. So that's why it's so important to go to the job ad and then look at your resume and see that those skills or attributes or those words are in there in some form that you've written in your own context and in your own style, but just make some of those words stick out.
Well, like for me, I wouldn't ever look at one that doesn't have the certificate for TAE,
Yeah,
like for an assessor.
that's right.
So if I had an automated system,
Yeah.
it would just kick all those out.
That's right. So
Because there's no point even looking at them.
Yeah. So that's part of the vetting system that it has, that
Yeah.
it will put in there the key criteria that you're looking for, and if it's not there, then it will just automatically spit it out.
So we've got another question. If there is a contact name on the ad to speak to for more information about the role, does this give you more insight into, do this as it gives you more insight into the role and the type of person they are looking for, so you can tailor your application? So contact them.
Look, if there is a name and a contact phone number, that means that they're available to have a phone call. So I think it's a good idea to give them a call, to have a bit of a chat about the role. And I primarily do it, well, I did do it in the past, was to see if we were playing in the same ballpark when it came to money.
Okay.
Because I wasn't going to waste their time or waste my time if they were paying, you know, really below the average, or, you know, what I was wanting. Because, you know, if you go and take jobs that are paying well below what you have been used to, then it won't last. So let's just not waste people's time. Or there could be certain aspects about the role that you want to check clarification for. Some roles might have some travel. Well, it might be that you need to ring up and check how much travel is actually involved, because some organisations, when it comes to travel, put some travel, and it's like 4 days a week. Well, we need to find these things out because they want to lure you in. So yeah, absolutely. And it's a good idea to, if you have that opportunity to call them, then you can form that extra connection with them. And when you send in your resume, they'll go, oh, gee, there's Sarah. Yes, connected with Sarah.
Yeah.
So it is a tick. But a lot of them won't do it either because they don't want to be inundated with phone calls.
It's like a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a minefield
Do I
out
call?
there.
Do I not? You know, I mean, and I think, as Deborah said, like if you do want to clarify about the role, I think that shows initiative, wanting to know, you know, I'm right for the job, and you do have an opportunity to have a conversation and show how articulate you are on the phone or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But then there are other times when you're like, well, that's annoying. This person keeps calling me to ask me if I got their resume, and now I'm done with them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be calling all the time to say, have you got my resume? You know, when are you doing the interviews? The only time I would call them is once you have had an interview, and then they have said that they would get back to you by Wednesday, and it's now Thursday, and I would perhaps just give them a call and just say, ask them, you know, if there was anything else that they needed, or when would they anticipate now that they would let you know.
Because you certainly want to be interested.
Well, you want to be interested.
Yeah.
But until you've had the interview, I wouldn't be hassling them until you've had your interview. Then you can torment them all you like. but let's get let's get to that interview stage.
Yeah.
Right. It's really going back to the old-fashioned way. Keep it simple, stupid, isn't it? Your resumes need to be very clear, very succinct, and just so simple. Because you know, employees don't have time to be reading through pages and pages and pages and pages. And make sure there's, you know, the formatting with the line spacing is good, so it's easy for them to read.
Yeah.
Because they usually will scan through.
Yeah.
You know, even though they say they read it, they still scan through.
So Gary's made a very, very interesting comment about appreciating computer programs, picking up spelling mistakes and perhaps some keywords. But I feel like we are in sad times when a computer program decides whether you are suitable or not for a position. Is this called progress?
Look, Gary, yes. It's relevant in some areas, and I think when there's some organisations that do mass recruiting, I think it can make it a lot easier, and it's more cost savvy for an organisation. But then again, you know, it's now taken out this whole personal side of things.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's artificial intelligence now that marks university assignments, and not just for spelling, but for their hypotheses, for their arguments. Like, it's so clever. Yeah. But it is brand new world.
That's right. But, I think the thing is that we can use this to our advantage and just make sure that we've got the attention to detail.
Yep.
We've got things in a simple format. We're highlighting things like our attributes and our achievements, and, using positive language and making sure that, with your current job, you're using it in present tense, going back to your previous roles, making sure they're all in past tense, and just making sure that your resume is not written as a cut and paste from your job description.
Yeah.
Because if there's nothing personal in it, that'll just get scrapped as well.
And I guess we just have to stay up to date with how we're doing things now, Keep practicing and keep trying and keep researching and learning and staying ahead.
Yeah,
I guess.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any further questions?
I think we're done. So we're going to wrap up. We're at 45 minutes now. So we are going to be sending out the video and the slides to you. So if you want those, you'll have them. Also, as Di mentioned, she's happy to talk to any of you individually if there were questions you didn't want to ask in this forum, or if you had particular questions about your resume or job hunting, please let Di know. And also, as most of you will probably know, Cal does offer free resume writing or reviews. So if you are looking for that specific job, we are happy to assist you in tailoring your resume and your cover letter to that particular job, so that you can at least see what we mean by when we say that kind of stuff. So do make sure you let someone here know if you would like any assistance with your resume or your cover writing, and we're always happy to help. Thank you, Di, again. Lovely to have you back this year.
That's right. I think the next one we're going to be doing is going for the interview.
Oh, very good.
How to handle those interviews.
Excellent.
Asking them the right questions.
That's going to be really interesting. Thank you, everybody, for attending. It's lovely to have all of you back for 2018, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, Di.
Thanks. Bye.